Today we are learning English with an epic scene from an epic movie, Gladiator, released in 2000. Hey guys, how's it going? Thiago here, and welcome to another episode of the podcast. Before we start with today's content, I want to invite you to join my private community. This is a community where you get to interact with me and other learners to ask about English-related questions. You get to share your struggles with English, your wins with English, questions that you have about the language. Also, you get to have one live Q&A session with me on a Zoom call so that we can hang out for a little while, talk, and I can answer your questions about English learning. And every month, if you are a member of the community, you have access to exclusive materials. For example, monthly masterclasses that I always upload and update the platform with, mini courses, and many other cool bonuses that you don't want to miss. So if you are interested in becoming a member of my private community, check out the link in the description of the video, also in the pinned comment below. And if you are on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, check out the show notes. I hope to see you there in the community. All right, so in the clip we're going to watch today, Marcus Aurelius, the current emperor of Rome, already old and about to die, meets with Maximus, his right-hand general. So let's see what happens.
Caesar.
Tell me again, Maximus. Why are we here?
For the glory of the empire, sire.
Okay, a couple of details here already. Notice that Maximus calls Marcus Caesar. So Caesar was the title that emperors had back in ancient Rome. It was a title of respect. So everybody referred to their emperors back then as Caesar. If you watch other epic movies that maybe depict kings and castles and queens, you might hear different words. For example, Your Majesty. Your Majesty was a way of calling the king or the queen, or Your Grace. You see that a lot in Game of Thrones, for example, right? But here, in the Roman Empire, the emperors used to be called Caesar. It was a title of respect. Also notice that here in the movie, they speak with more of a British accent. I find it interesting to see that usually when you watch these epic movies that depict a time in history that happened many, many years ago, the tendency is for you to hear more of a British type of accent. And some vocabulary that is a little bit archaic as well. For example, here, sir, right? Notice that sir here is being spelled S-I-R-E. And it doesn't really sound sir. It kind of sounds like sire, a little bit of a sire. All right? Which is very archaic. All right? So notice that. Marcus says, why are we here? Why are we here? For the glory of the empire, sire. Okay, let's continue here.
Oh, yes. I remember.
The subtitles didn't pick up here, but he says, I remember. He's dying here in the movie, so he's already very weak, and tired, we can see. So, I remember.
Do you see that map, Maximus? That is the world which I created. For 25 years, I have conquered, spilt blood, expanded the empire.
Notice that he says spilt blood, okay? But notice the spelling here. We are writing S-P-I-L-T, which is the British variation of spilled, okay? In American English, it's more common for you to see that L-L-E-D at the end. S-P-I-L-L-E-D. And then we say spilled blood. But here, spilt blood with a T is another variation of the spelling, which is a little bit more British oriented. Okay? So for 25 years, he has conquered, spilt blood, expanded the empire.
Since I became Caesar, I've known 4 years without war. 4 years of peace in 20. And for what?
So in 20 years as emperor, he's only known 4 years of peace, meaning that for 16 years, it was all about war during his time as emperor. And now that he is old and in his final days, we can see that he's questioning the purpose of his life. For what? He says. Why did I do all that?
I brought the sword. Nothing more.
Caesar, your life.
Please. Please don't call me that. Come. Please.
Really cool. Yeah. We can see here that Marcus Aurelius is having a little bit of a fragile moment. Yeah. He's doubting, his accomplishments, what he did for the Roman Empire back then. He just said, I brought the sword, nothing more. In other words, my reign was marked by war and conflict and battle, nothing more. Yeah. He's obviously kind of diminishing here, his accomplishment because, he is in this state now of reflection and, fragility and vulnerability. And it's amazing to see that he can be this open with, Maximus. So it shows, how dear, Maximus is to him. Okay. So let's continue here.
Come sit. Let us talk together now. Very simply, as men.
Yeah. In other words, let's forget about the formalities. Don't call me Caesar. Let's just talk simply as men.
Well, Maximus, talk.
5,000 of my men are out there in the freezing mud. 3,000 of them are bloodied and cleaved. 2,000 will never leave this place. I will.
Okay, I gotta go back here a little bit because, Maximus uses a couple of nice words here. Okay?
Freezing mud. 3,000 of them.
Look at this one here. 3,000 of my men are outside, bloodied and cleaved. Well, bloodied, full of blood. Yeah, because, they have just come back from another battle. And cleaved. When something is cleaved, it is split right open or cut right open. So the fact that Maximus is saying that his men are cleaved means that they are literally, some of them are literally split open, because of injuries, from the battle, from the war. Maybe they even lost some limbs, or they are cut right open. So they are severely injured. Okay?
Are bloodied and cleaved. 2,000 will never leave this place. I will not believe that they fought and died for nothing.
And what would you believe?
They fought for you. And for Rome.
What is Rome, Maximus?
Interesting. They fought for you and for Rome. And now Marcus Aurelius, the emperor, is questioning, okay, what is Rome? What is this thing that you want to believe your soldiers fought for?
I've seen much of the rest of the world. It is brutal and cruel and dark. Rome is the light.
Notice the accent here again. It has more of this British, right? Accent, brutal and cruel and dark, right?
You have never been there. You have not seen what it has become. I am dying, Maximus.
Again, the subtitles didn't pick it up, but he's saying, I am dying, Maximus.
When a man sees his end, he wants to know there was some purpose to his life.
Yeah, you see, that's exactly what I was just telling you about, yeah? Marcus is about to die. He's already old and sick. So when a man sees his end, he wants to know there was some purpose to his life, right? What have I done with my life? What has my life been about? What mark am I going to leave? Right?
How will the world speak my name in years to come? Will I be known as the philosopher, the warrior, the tyrant?
I forgot the name of the actor, man. I think his name is Richard Harris, I believe. The actor who plays here, Marcus Aurelius. Man, great acting. Great acting. It's interesting that here we see Marcus questioning, you see, will I be known as the philosopher, the warrior, the tyrant? Well, nowadays, I think that Marcus Aurelius is one of the main, let's say, characters or figures in Stoicism. Yeah, he was one of the 5 good emperors of Rome, and he even has a book, Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. And it's a book that has stood the test of time. And it's still regarded as very valuable nowadays. In case you haven't read, here's a tip for you. Yeah, you can read the book Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. All right. So yeah, I mean, I think it'll be fair to say that in our modern society today, Marcus Aurelius would be considered mainly a philosopher. Yeah. Especially when it comes to Stoicism. But it's nice to see his questioning here, right? Will I be known as the philosopher, the warrior, the tyrant? Right?
The warrior? The tyrant?
His face when he goes, the tyrant? Such good acting, man. Amazing.
Or will I be the emperor who gave Rome back her true self? There was once a dream that was Rome. You could only whisper it.
Notice how he pronounced the word whisper. First of all, when you whisper, you talk like that, you know, it's almost like there's no voice. It's more this airy type of voice that is very low. This is whispering. But we usually say whisper, whisper, but he goes, hua, hua. There's a whisper, whisper. Yeah, there's this extra puff of air that he is employing here. Whisper. Listen again. You could only whisper it, he says.
Once a dream that was Rome. You could only whisper it.
Did you hear that?
Anything more than a whisper, and it would vanish.
So to vanish is to disappear completely.
It was so fragile.
It was so fragile. Fragile, again, that is more British type of pronunciation. In North American English, you might hear more often people going fragile. Fragile, not fragile. But remember here, yeah, it's an epic story, so the pronunciation here is more British oriented, right? Let's listen to that part again. Fragile.
Whisper it. Anything more than a whisper, and it would vanish. It was so fragile. And I fear that it will not survive the winter.
So he's fearing for the future of Rome. Yeah, when he's gone, which is going to happen pretty soon.
Maximus, let us whisper now, together, you and I.
You didn't see that in the subtitles, but he goes, you and I. Together, you and I. Let's whisper.
You have a son. Tell me about your home.
My house is...
By the way, the music in this movie is awesome. Yeah, I've already done a lesson here on the channel for Braveheart. The music in Braveheart is amazing. The music from The Gladiator here is also incredible, you know?
in the hills above Tehillah. Very simple place. Pink stones that warm in the sun. Kitchen garden that smells of herbs in the day.
Notice that he pronounced the word herbs. So he's pronouncing the H here, herbs. It's okay to pronounce herb, but other people might pronounce it herb without the H. It depends on the region. It depends on the city, the country the person is from. So you might hear herbs, like he's saying here, or herbs, okay? Something similar happens to the word human. In the US, some areas, some regions say human, others say human without the H, okay? Human, okay? So let's continue here.
Jasmine in the evening. Through the gate is a giant poplar.
A giant poplar. A poplar is a tree that has a pointed shape, you know, and, it usually gives fruit. Yeah. Fruit with pulp. Yeah. That's a poplar. Yeah. It's a big tree that is pointy.
Figs, apples, pears, the soil, Marcus, black.
Soil here is the ground, yeah?
Black like my wife's hair. Grapes on the south slopes, olives on the north. Wild ponies playing in my house. They tease my son. He wants to be one of them.
When was the last time you were home?
Marcus is asking, when was the last time you were home? Yeah, you didn't see the subtitles, but when was the last time you were home?
2 years, 264 days, and this morning.
Wow. Very accurate, very precise. Eh? So we can understand that he's really eager to go back home. He misses his home, his wife, his son, right? He's counting the days, counting every minute to go back home.
I envy you, Maximus.
Marcus is saying, I envy you. Envy here is E-N-V-Y. When you envy someone, you want to have the same thing that person has, you know, but you can't have it. Yeah. So, this could be a bad thing. Actually, it is bad in most contexts, like to envy people. You don't want to envy people. But here, in this context, it's not bad because, you know, what Marcus is saying is that, oh, you have such a nice place, a nice family, a nice house. You know, I envy you, but envy in the more positive sense of the word. But note that the word envy is usually used in more negative types of contexts, not in this one.
It was a good home. Worth fighting for.
It's a good home, worth fighting for.
There is one more duty that I ask of you before you go home.
What would you have me do, Caesar?
Guys, I gotta point this out. Did you see the readiness in Maximus when the emperor said, I have one more duty. There's one more duty that I ask of you before you go home. Immediately, Maximus stood up, ready to receive the order. It shows how faithful, how loyal he is also as a military man, as Marcus's main general, you know. But I love the readiness. You know, he was pretty chill, pretty relaxed, you know, as he was talking to Marcus, you know, describing his home, his family. He was calm. But the minute that, you know, his emperor asked for one more duty, one more task, he switched, you know, and it's like the soldier Maximus took over again. I love that. You know, it's such a detail that you have to observe, you know, but take a look, guys. Take a look at how he stands up, you know.
Fighting?
You see, at ease, at peace. Look.
There is one more duty that I ask of you before you go home.
What would you have me do, Caesar?
You see, I love that. The readiness, like, you know, so loyal, yeah, to Marcus, right? So what would you have me do? This is another way of asking, what do you want me to do? Okay?
I want you to become the protector of Rome after I die. I will empower you to one end alone.
I will empower you to one end alone. Let me go back here a little bit.
I want you to become the protector of Rome after I die. I will empower.
So I will empower you to one end alone. To one end is like to one main purpose or to one main goal. So when I'm gone, when I die, which is going to happen very soon, I'm going to name you protector of Rome, the new emperor, but to one end alone, to one purpose alone.
You to one end alone, to give power back to the people of Rome and end the corruption that has crippled it.
The word cripple in this context means something that destroys something else. So apparently Rome has been suffering from corruption at the hands of the politicians there, the senators, you know, and corruption has been crippling the empire, okay, has been damaging, has been destroying the empire. That's what cripple means in this context. In other contexts, a crippled person is a person who maybe can't walk properly or doesn't have a leg and limps, But this is not a very good word to use, guys, to refer to people who have disabilities like that. Okay. This is a very, very, I would say informal but offensive word. You never call a person with a disability a crippled. Okay. But you might see this word, especially being used in epic movies like that. Because, back in those days, well, I guess it was common for people to use words like that to refer to this kind of people. Okay. That's the literal meaning of cripple or crippled. Okay. But in this context here specifically, corruption is crippling Rome, or it is damaging, it is deteriorating, it is destroying the empire. Okay. Look at Maximus' facial expression here. We could say that he is aghast. He is aghast. When you are aghast, you are terrorized, you are shocked, surprised, because he wants to go home. He wants to stop fighting and he wants to go home to his family. But now, the emperor is naming him emperor. So how is he gonna go back home ever, right? So he's being offered here the most powerful position in Rome.
Won't you accept this great honor that I have offered you?
With all my heart, no.
Maxima, that is why it must be you.
Amazing, right, guys? It's that old saying, right? The best leaders are usually people who don't want to be leaders. Yeah, those are the type of leaders we want. Yeah, people who don't want to be leaders. Yeah, just for the sake of power. And that's a perfect example that we see here. With all his heart, Maximus doesn't want to be emperor. He wants to, be a farmer. Yeah, go back to his wife and son and live peacefully, right? But then Marcus is saying that's exactly why you are the one. All the other people, all the other men here, they want to become emperors for the wrong reasons because they are greedy. They are power hungry. That's why it must be you. Amazing, guys. I want to go back to this part here because it's so touching, I want to go back. Sorry, guys. I want to see Maximus' refusal,
Won't you accept this great honor that I have offered you?
With all my heart, no.
Maxima, that is why it must be you.
But surely a prefect, a senator, somebody who knows the city, who understands her politics.
But you have...
Going back a little bit here, Maximus uses a nice word, guys.
That is why it must be you.
But surely
a prefect or a senator. A prefect is a person who holds a very high position in some governments, in some countries. I think this word doesn't apply to every country. It depends on how a country is structured. But in some countries, you might have prefects. It's a person who holds a very high position in government, in the magistrate, something like that. So Maximus is saying, not me, I'm a soldier, get a prefect, a senator.
Prefect, a senator, somebody who knows the city, who understands her politics.
But you have not been corrupted by her politics.
Interesting also, guys, that they are referring to the city as her. Yeah, they are referring to Rome as a person, as she, right? So you have not been corrupted by her politics, by the city's politics. It's interesting to see that they are referring to Rome, the city, as a person, as a she.
A senator, somebody who knows the city, who understands her politics.
But you have not been corrupted by her politics.
And Commodus?
Commodus is Marcus Aurelius' son. And he is played by Joaquin Phoenix in this movie, a very young Joaquin Phoenix. And this is Joaquin Phoenix before The Joker, for example, and Napoleon and all these movies that he has made after. So Commodus here is the main antagonist, the main villain, let's say, of the movie. So let's see what Marcus has to say about his son, Commodus.
Commodus is not a moral man. You have known that since you were young. Commodus cannot rule. He must not rule.
Rule in this case means to govern. Okay, so Commodus cannot be emperor. He cannot rule. He cannot govern the city.
You are the son that I should have had.
Nice. Notice here, guys, that we have a very nice structure.
Not rule. He must not rule. You are the son that I should have had.
So you are the son that I should have had. Okay? Did you hear that? You're the son that I should have had. Should have had. That's the structure. We are contracting here. Should have. And you might even just reduce it to shoulda. Shoulda. I should have had. So you can say I should have had or I should have had. Okay? You're the son that I should have had. All right? Let's go back a little bit here to hear Marcus saying that again.
He must not rule. You are the son that I should have had. Commodus will accept my decision. He knows that you command the loyalty of the army.
Very British sounding, right? Command, not command. You command the loyalty of the army, right? Sounds very British.
I need some time, sire.
Yes. By sunset, I hope you will have agreed.
Nice. Let me go back here a little bit. By sunset, I hope you will have agreed. This is future perfect. In case you are wondering about this tense here, this is future perfect. You will have agreed. By sunset, I hope you will have agreed. Nice, right? Future perfect.
Sunset, I hope you will have agreed. Now embrace me as my son.
He says, embrace me as my son. Embrace here is a very old-fashioned way of saying hug, yeah? I guess if it was a movie that happened nowadays, he would just say, now hug me as a son. Hug me as a son, right? But here, yeah, something more old-fashioned, more archaic, embrace me as a son, right?
And bring an old man another blanket.
Awesome, guys. Amazing. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed this movie lesson. It had been a while since I did a movie lesson here on the channel, so it was cool to do another one here with the movie Gladiator. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Leave a like on the video. Also, leave me a comment with maybe a movie suggestion for the next time I do this kind of video. Or if you want to share anything else that is on your mind, you can also leave a comment here. Share the channel, share this video with your contacts, and leave me a 5-star review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Guys, I'm signing off. Thank you very much. I'm Thiago, and I'll be talking to you very soon in the upcoming episode. Bye-bye.